Despite the advanced and well-developed technology involved in the process, surrogacy is stigmatized socially for a variety of reasons. On top of the societal stigmas, pregnancy itself comes with health risks or side effects that are common knowledge, such as morning sickness. Does surrogacy bring about more health risks that should be considered? Is it more or less challenging emotionally than a pregnancy of their own biological children? In today's webinar, we're going to get into some of the questions a potential gestational carrier or surrogate might have prior to becoming one. Our guests will address the psychological impacts of surrogacy and touch on the societal stigma surrounding it. Our first guest is Erica Almendarez. Erica is a licensed professional counselor and family source consultant's director of clinical and match management. She graduated with a Master's of Science degree from Our Lady of the Lake University, where her training focused on brief therapies. Her therapeutic approach is strength-based and compassionate, allowing the client to formulate goals and discover their abilities in counseling. Early in her career, Erica had the opportunity to work with at-risk youth and teens and soon realized a passion for working with teens and their families. Erica's experience has expanded to include infertility counseling and psychological assessments for third-party reproduction. She has assisted her clients with issues in infertility, such as grieving the loss of genetics and decisions to utilize a gestational carrier or egg donor. She chose this career path because she is passionate about assisting families and is thrilled to be a part of the family building process that third-party reproduction offers for individuals and couples. Our second guest is Megan Cox. She is a support and match manager with Family Source Consultants. Megan is a licensed mental health counselor with a passion for family-centered and trauma-focused therapy. She graduated from the University of St. Francis with a Master of Science degree, where her training focused on experiential and trauma-focused therapies. Megan addresses each client with empathy and understanding as they push themselves towards their established goals. Megan has worked professionally in family preservation and foster care and has extensive experience in customer service and relations. She developed a passion for helping families grow during her work with foster care and adoptions. She's eager to continue assisting families in growing through third-party reproduction. Let's welcome our guests now. Welcome, Erica and Megan.
Hi, happy to join.
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
I'm thrilled you both joined me, obviously, for another webinar. This is, becoming a great routine for us, just getting all this great information out there for everybody. The questions I have for today have really been pulled from women who are thinking about becoming a surrogate. So when I ask the questions, I'm going to ask it in an I form, even though it's not me, Cara. It's me representing the females that are submitting these questions. Let's start with Erica. What kind of commitment would I be entering into psychologically for surrogacy?
Initially, to get through the surrogacy process, we require a psychological evaluation for the surrogate and if she's partnered. So if she's currently living with someone, married, in a long-term committed relationship, we would definitely want to have both of them on a psychological evaluation so that we can determine their readiness, their psychological readiness, to enter into this journey as best as we can, with all the information that we have at the time. Another consideration is the stressors that just a normal pregnancy would have on the potential surrogate. We think of when we say a normal or typical pregnancy, we can think of those stressors, but keeping in mind that it could become a high-risk pregnancy or a complicated pregnancy. And then you have the added stressors of the possibility of bed rest or anything like that could come along with, and how that would impact the surrogate's family and or her partnership. Another big thing to consider before becoming a surrogate are the emotions that are involved in dealing with the wins and the losses. We like to focus on, at the end of the day, there's going to be a happy family that a surrogate is going to contribute to. But ultimately, the journey could be one of wins and losses. For example, grief, when there's treatment failure or, loss of a potential pregnancy. We definitely want to consider that. Which is why in our match meetings, we talk a lot about how to communicate, during those times of loss. what everybody's preferences are, the intended parents, what's comfortable for the surrogate. We want to keep those things in mind as we work through these potential emotions that could occur. And also, obviously celebrating the better, the positive emotions that come along with it as well. I have personally, and most of our match team, we discuss that it's important to consider everybody's ideas and thoughts when they are dealing with these emotions. All parties involved, the surrogates, her partners, and the intended parents. So we talk about the importance of that. FSC understands these challenges, and that's why we offer a dedicated case manager team. So something important for surrogates to consider when entering into this journey, that they have that extra added support by their side. And we also offer a private Facebook support group so that they're connected with other surrogates who are currently in the journeys or have gone through the journeys and can offer the most valuable support and information.
So it sounds like there is a lot of impacts entering this journey, but there's so much support and help behind them that we're going to be able to alleviate any of those extras that come with being a surrogate versus your own pregnancy.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's how we as an agency meet that need every step of the way. Through our matching process, we have, licensed mental health professionals who understand those challenges. So we're facilitating through that. And then in our case management team as well.
And that brings me to my question for you, Megan, kind of elaborating on some of the things that Eric mentioned. How would I, as the surrogate, feel supported emotionally during this journey?
Absolutely. There's so many different ways, and Erica really touched on a couple of them there with, family source consultants having a dedicated case manager to see you through the entire journey. From the moment you start the intake process, you have a dedicated surrogate intake admissions coordinator who works directly with you to make sure that you feel supported throughout all of that beginning part that can feel so overwhelming with getting approval and finding your intended parents and getting matched and going through that matching process. So it's not just a case management team post, match and moving into your transfer and your journey, but also leading up to it to ensure that you have that support and it lays a good foundation for you to be able to really feel confident about the journey that you're about to, embark upon. And she also mentioned the private Facebook group and our support groups that are held monthly for our surrogates, which is another great way just to feel connected to other people who are going through the journey as well. It's one thing to have support from, those around you, but somebody who really understands and is doing the same thing that you're doing, that you can really lean on for support. We also want to make sure that you have the support up front of your family and your friends, those who are in your inner circle. So whoever that looks like for you, making sure that you lay out your expectations with them, what to expect from your journey, and what they expect from your journey as well, especially if you're partnered or married, or maybe your biggest support person is your mom or your dad, whoever it might be, making sure that you guys have a good understanding of what you want out of the journey as well, because obviously the goal is to bring a happy, healthy baby into the world for another family, but this journey is for you as well, and it's important that you feel that support from those that are closest to you. And I think really finally just preparing yourself and again knowing those expectations, and really making sure that you've thought through the possibilities and you've mentally and emotionally prepared for what that's going to look like, and kind of set yourself up for the best possible outcome for yourself emotionally as you get started on the journey.
That's the perfect lead into the next question. So, Erica, are there any psychological impacts I may feel during the surrogacy journey that I should be concerned about?
Yes, I think as we've talked about, being informed is huge before taking on this journey. So I'd love to touch on some of the things to expect, psychological impacts, and things to consider. First and foremost, really thinking about the added stressors to your daily life and your schedule. that are associated with the scheduling demands of IVF, and also, going through a pregnancy. In the psychological interview, we take time to discuss this. We talk about your current life stressors. We all have those, our daily life stressors, and we talk about any major life stressors that can contribute that you are already experiencing. We want to make sure that we talk about the current life stressors and some other added stressors to make sure that you're equipped with some coping strategies and any anticipated changes, that could occur. Also, we talk about in our clinical interview the potential impact on the surrogate's children. For example, attachment to the unborn child is something that you want to consider. I always tell surrogates, that they're the expert over their children. And so they'll be the ones to kind of know and decide if their child's at risk for attachment in these situations. And if they are, properly preparing, discussing with professionals, really just taking a proactive approach to that if that's a concern. And also thinking about the potential IPs, the intended parents, their desire post pregnancy, how involved that they want to continue to be with your family, and if that serves your family's needs and your children's needs as well. Another potential impact to consider is the impact on your partnership or your marriage. It's a relationship as well. And something to think about is due to the unique nature of this journey and the potential challenges that you all could face as a married couple or partnered couple, how that might impact your relationship. We definitely want to make sure that you're not already in a fragile relationship so that these challenges don't present and cause a negative effect in that. So these are all things definitely to consider before going forward.
And I think that kind of answers a question that I've seen frequently. Why does my partner need a psychological evaluation as well? Mm-hmm. And that really is the answer right there, to make sure that you guys have a strong bond in order to get through this journey together, and that there aren't any potential issues of entering into it when you have possibly an issue in that relationship. Am I correct in that?
You are absolutely correct.
Okay.
Another thing this is important mentioning is, yes, the psychoevaluation is just that. It's evaluating your readiness psychologically to take the journey, but it's also psychoeducational in nature. So we do talk about the psychoeducation. And so it's important that the partner is also present during that. So they're aware and making an informed decision as well.
I think that was the part that I really enjoyed the most in all of the answers, that this isn't just about an evaluation. You're really educating and giving them the confidence to make the decision based on education. So I'm loving that these answers really lead that way. Getting informed to make decisions is a beautiful thing. So with that, Megan, how do I deal with the impact surrogacy may have on my family now that I've started this journey?
Absolutely. We'll piggyback there off of, the partnership and the marriage piece of it. Really laying that foundation and having, like we talked about, that psychoeducation behind making the decision is really important. And ensuring that your partner feels comfortable to share, what their expectations are for the journey as well, and what they see for you and for their family. And especially once you get children involved, it's important that as a mother and a father, or a mother and a mother, or a father and a father, that you guys really have a good understanding of what you see for your children in this journey. Because like Erica mentioned, there is the possibility that a child is going to get attached to this unborn baby, and kind of making sure that we can navigate what that looks like when the baby isn't there anymore. So I would recommend definitely start early, have these conversations from the beginning, lay the foundation with your children, what to expect. Mommy is going to be pregnant, mommy is going to be helping another family. Mommy's going to be babysitting another baby. However you feel your child will best understand it, obviously, depending on their age and development and how they best will understand, what is happening. But ensure to get their feedback on how they're feeling about it. Make sure that they want to talk, will share what emotions this is bringing up for them. Are they excited thinking they're getting a new sibling? And make sure you can navigate kind of what that looks like and explaining that this baby is not coming home with you. And find literature. There are so many resources and books out there, as easy as a Amazon cart delivery away, to help really explain to children what's happening, what mommy is doing. There are a lot of resources in that sense. And then this is, of course, something you want to discuss with your intended parents, when you're going through that match fitting process and the legal contract process, what you expect when the baby is finally here. Do you want your children to get to meet the baby? Do you think that is what they'll need for closure? Do you want them to be able to see the baby in a Christmas card once a year? What that long-term relationship is going to look like, and what's going to best suit your family and your children's needs to ensure that they get the appropriate emotional closure. So I think that, really just making sure you have all of these steps lined up ahead of time and really laid the foundation to ensure that your kids, have the best possible outcome there.
I think those are perfect tips and advice. Now, I have a question that wasn't written, but now as you were talking, I had a thought. There's so much literature out there. There's so much information. What if I need help guiding to the right or some preferred documentation? Or what if I want to enter into possibly some counseling with my family to help through this journey? Does the case management team or whomever is assigned to me help me kind of help find the right people? Do you match me with those too? Because I need a little extra support. How does that work? Either one of you.
Okay. Absolutely. I think our case managers are well equipped to offer a guidance and direction, not only on mental health professionals, but also with the massive amount of individuals that we have in support groups and things, like what books have helped your children? Where do you find credible explanations and things like that? So I definitely feel comfortable and confident in our case management team. If they don't know where to go, that they will find it.
That's what I was really wanting to get at with, as if I'm the parent and I'm unsure, how do I know that's the most credible source to get to? Because everything on the internet isn't true.
Yeah.
What is the best approach that I can go to my case manager and say, help me me find the right mental health professional, help me find this, and we're there for you as well. So
yeah, we have that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more serious question, Erica. There is a lot of talk on the internet about surrogacy being unethical. And again, I'm talking as a potential surrogate. Now, I worry I will be judged for it, maybe not support it, and I'm not even sure I can handle the pressure of the stigma around it. What advice would you have for me if I'm interested in surrogacy, but I'm uncertain due to the stigma it has?
Absolutely. This is a great question. It's something that may not have been on the forefront of most people's minds when they're considering this journey. Everybody considers the happy end result, but we don't often consider things that we could be judged on. And so I'm glad you asked. And I would my advice would be to consider your motivation along the way. Consider why you're taking on this journey. Ultimately, that's the most important thing. And we do talk about that during our psychological evaluation. We want to know exactly why, you're motivated, to make sure that your motivation aligns with the ultimate goals of the journey. So consider your motivation and along the way, and keep that close to heart. That's going to keep you focused on your goals and why you're doing it, regardless of what others might think of the idea. Another thing to consider, I would say, or some additional advice, is to consider your immediate family's ethical framework. Where where do you come from? Where is your family gonna be at the end of the day? Because, you know, at the end of the day, we do rely on our immediate support, not necessarily a comment on the internet or something of that nature. So definitely considering that and making sure that you do have that support, and that surrogacy aligns with your family's ethical framework and your personal. Again, joining those like-minded Facebook groups, that FSC offers, you're gonna have individuals with those like-minded ideas, and not individuals with the different minds and ideas of negative ideas about surrogacy. And, just asking previous GCs, previous surrogates, their opinions and how they might have dealt with any adverse judgment that they received at that time. That would be some advice that I would offer to anybody who's worried about that.
Thank you. Erica, thank you for that. That's a great answer. Megan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I just want to touch on the fact that starting out by just arming yourself with the information to become a surrogate, and I know there, all the stigma that can surround it. To become a surrogate, there has to be financial qualifications that are met, and these obviously psychological qualifications that are met through their psych eval that they undergo with their partners as well. And then the, physical ability. These aren't just women that are coming, out of desperation, which I think is, part of some of the stigma. And then I really, really want to emphasize that in our match meetings, in our psychological evaluations, we hit it in so many different places to ensure that women know they still have the right to their own body, and that intended parents know that. This isn't them, renting her womb for the 9 months, that she still, and it's in every clause, it's in every contract, she's educated on it, still has the right to make every decision over her own body, regardless of, the contract that they enter into. Nobody is taking away her right to make decisions for her own body and for her own family. So I just want to make sure that we stress that, that, women are not stripped of their rights throughout this process and taken advantage of. They have full control over their body throughout the entire process.
Thank you, Erica. That kind of leads us into another question. Intended parents possibly thinking that they can kind of give direction more than they maybe can. So how, as a surrogate, would I deal with maybe some overbearing intended parents?
Absolutely. As Megan said, we try to set that expectation beforehand and talk a lot about communicating and really everyone's role in the process. But you might come across some intended parents that do feel like they are have more direction or more authority, if you will, over what is going on. And we definitely want to equip our surrogates with the tools to handle that. One thing I can stress is to really rely on your case manager for support. And as a mediator, mediation is important in this journey. If there should ever arise, any conflict, negative feelings, negative emotions toward the journey, toward other parties in the journey. So definitely relying on your case manager for support and mediation. Also, rely on them for advocacy. Advocacy is important in this particular realm of intended parents. Maybe if you're feeling that they are trying to overbear and take a little bit more control than they should over the situation, you definitely want to rely on your case manager to advocate for you that this is a unique journey that requires you guys to work together and to feel that everybody has an equal say in the relationship, and that they matter, and their opinions and feelings matter throughout the process. I definitely want to encourage anyone who's feeling this way to communicate promptly in these situations, and not let it turn into a huge problem. Heading it off initially and communicating properly when you're feeling this way, so that we can handle it or help handle it when it's small rather than when it gets large. That's definitely the goal. So keeping those three things in mind, should that occur, should definitely help.
Thank you for that. We're going to go to our final prepared question. And Megan, I'm going to turn to you. What do I do if an embryo transfer doesn't work?
Absolutely. That such an emotional time when the treatment fails. Obviously, the goal of this is to have a happy and healthy baby. So when anything does not go as planned, there's going to be a lot of emotions. And that's not only going to be from the intended parents, but from surrogates as well. It's okay to have emotions about it and, be able to process those. So I want to just make sure throughout the beginning process, of the match meeting and the legal, ensure that you talk ahead of time about how you want to communicate a treatment failure, an embryo transfer that doesn't work, or, the possibility of a miscarriage, any of those things happening. Ensure that you and your intended parents are on the same page in how they want that communicated, whether it be a text message because a phone call might be too emotional, whether it be a phone call because a text message seems too impersonal, whatever works, for each member of the parties and kind of what that's best going to look like. And then ensure that you know how many times you and your intended parents plan to do transfers. If there's no, glaring medical reason why the first transplant didn't work, it's important to make sure that we know how many you want to go through with the same intended parents and how many transfers they would like to try with you. And then, unfortunately, it does happen. And like I said, surrogates need to have time to feel these emotions on their own, and intended parents might need time to process their emotions on their own. So I think it's important to give everybody space, allow the time to process, allow the time to feel the emotions, and decide how you want to move forward. Again, making sure you remember that you always have the right to your own body and to make those decisions. So once, those emotions have settled in and everybody's had time to process, really coming back together and deciding what the best course of action is moving forward.
And if you're uncertain, if you're taking too much time to grieve that failure, communicate with your case manager to make sure that they know that you're not just distant, that you're still processing it, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Keeping those lines of communication open, ensuring that everybody just knows, hey, I'm still grieving this and I still need a little bit more time, for sure.
Thank you both for joining me today. This was really important because I get these questions a lot out on our social media, and I just wanted to be able to answer them from a personal perspective rather than reading the frequently asked questions. It really matters when it's more personal. So with that, let me start with you, Erica. Is there anything else you'd like to add to talking to potential surrogates before we close out the episode?
The only thing I would add is really to Megan's last question, because I think one of the important, or one of the most detrimental emotions that a surrogate could feel after loss is guilt. And so we definitely want to make sure that they don't feel guilty, that there are so many factors involved in a successful transfer, that it is not only one. It's not just her and her body that have to perform. There are so many other factors that have to go well and do their job in order to obtain a successful pregnancy. So that's the only thing I would add on. I think Megan's done a fantastic job explaining, and I'm good.
Hey, and Megan, is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the webinar?
I don't think so. I think just, emphasizing the importance of planning for all of these things, just really making sure that you come in informed as a surrogate and arming yourself with all of the knowledge and all the psychoeducation that's out there. And FSC is great with that, and setting surrogates up for, success when it comes to planning what they want their journey to look like, and really setting themselves up emotionally and psychologically for success throughout their whole entire journey.
And if we have questions if you have questions that we haven't answered, that's what consultations are for. And write them all down, because someone will definitely answer them for you. Okay. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this webinar on the ethics and psychological aspects of surrogacy. If you have questions that were not answered during this webinar, feel free to reach out to us at info@FamilySourceConsultants.com, and one of our incredible surrogate ambassadors or surrogate admissions coordinators will be in touch with you.